Last year, the Seattle Seahawks had a relatively unknown player really step up big. This year, he's playing even better. And it just proves that the Seattle Seahawks are going to be a really good team. Nobody's really talking about them like they are other teams. And so can't wait to share this guy. But first, if you're new to our channel, we make videos about teams that don't get the national love like they should. Seattle, prime example. This is going to be a good team, and this player proves it, gives them a lot of depth. So the player that I'm talking about is got to call him Michael Jackson, DB corner that played really well, started last year. So in 2021, Mike Jackson played 24 defensive snaps in 2021. In 2022, he was Seattle's full-time starter at left corner. And so now the Seahawks, of course, draft Witherspoon. So it's like, all right, Jackson, see you later, buddy. And no, in fact, he's come out and had the best, the best. Now, hold on, let me make sure I got this right because hold on, let me make sure I get this right because Pete Carroll said that he had the best mini camp of anybody, and this was back in June. And so now we're getting into training camp, and he continues to play really well. And so let me show you this article. This is a Seahawks article about 5 winners and losers. Number 1, Michael Jackson. So Witherspoon, of course, gets drafted. And like I was saying, you just kind of assume Jackson's out. But Jackson said he had the best camp. And Carroll is normally a positive guy, of course, but this usually measures his words a bit more. He usually measures his words a little bit more. By most accounts, Jackson hasn't suddenly started more poorly in training camp. If anything, he's even better than he was in minicamp. So I know minicamp, training camp, hard to keep track, OTAs. You've got quick little mini camp that happens early in June. Then they go on their break and now training camp. And what's happened in training camp, and everybody, all accounts are saying that this guy is playing really, really well. And let me just remind you of this guy's history. Gets drafted in the 5th round by the Dallas Cowboys, gets cut immediately, like in training camp, gets cut, goes to the Lions. And by the way, we're Lions fans. So we know all about getting ignored by the national media. He goes to the Lions in 2019. No surprise that we cut him because we got Matt Patricia. He doesn't know anything. He goes to the Lions for a year, gets cut. Then he goes to the New England Patriots for a year, gets cut. Then he goes to the Seattle Seahawks. And this is where he is with Seattle for 1 season in 2021, doesn't play a whole lot, gets re-signed again. And it's at this point that the Seahawks really play him last year a lot. Really he's a big corner, 6'1", and has a really good season. Of course, for him in the offseason, Witherspoon gets drafted. So you're like, all right, I'm out. No, this dude's really good. And it shows that now the Seattle Seahawks have 3 really good corners. It's hard to find one. Okay, I could say that from a Lions fan who we drafted Okuda. Just didn't work. Just didn't work. Our best corner is an undrafted free agent, Jerry Jacobs, right? So it's like it's hard to find corners. And now all of a sudden, if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, you got 3 good corners. You've got the head coach. You've got the quarterback. You've got a running back. You've got wide receivers with Jackson Smith and Jigba and what's his name? The massive dude. Can't even think of his name. He scares me. I can't even think of his name. Help me in the comments. Wow. What the heck's his name? The massive dude. Anyway, you got the great offensive line. Defense is really good. Just talking about the secondary is going to be just fine. I love Quandre Diggs. He came from the Lions. I have no idea why we traded him. I think he's a great player. So I say all that to say, this is one example of a guy that's a no-namer. Comes into Seattle, plays well last year, even better this year. Your head coach is saying that he is performing the best in minicamp and even better in training camp. So let's take a look at some more of these guys that winners and losers. So loser, Zach Charbonnet. Dang it. Hate to see that. He's a Michigan guy. We're not going to look at the losers, but that's interesting. Charbonnet is a loser on that one. Winner number 2, Jackson Smith and Jigba. No crap. This guy's really good. I can't wait to see him in the NFL. I think he's quick. I think he's instinctive, and he's got really good hands, all the things you look for. And the big thing with wide receiver now in the year 2023 and is wide receivers really impact the game more than they ever have. And yes, you can slug your way down the field, and it's important to run the ball, and we all know all these things. But when you can hit a slant pass and take it for 30 yards, you can't run the ball like that. Like it's so hard to run the ball effective. It's a lot easier to hit some chunk plays with some really good wide receivers, some really valuable. That's why wide receiver values through the roof. Running backs, it's like it's just hard to run. It's hard to run the ball. You need it. It's very important. But you see running back values and contracts aren't coming there. But wide receiver, give me a guy that can really impact the game. There's about 10 of them that really do it. Jackson Smith-Njigba could be one of those guys. Keep working through here. Jamal Adams, dang it, I like him. All right, winner number 3, Kenny McIntosh. Okay, rookie reps out of Georgia. Love him, by the way. So here's, okay, I'm not going to go through this anymore. I just want you to know Seattle's in a really good place. I got 2 more things for you. Seattle's in a really good place. People aren't talking about them, I think, for a couple of reasons. And I've talked about this in other videos, but Russell Wilson was just kind of a headliner there. He leaves. Immediately, the Seattle Seahawks are written off, just like the Detroit Lions when Jared Goff goes there. Just like, nah, don't care. When in fact, it's a great fit, and he fits the team. He fits the coaches. It's a better vibe around Seattle. Same thing in Detroit. Nothing against Matthew Stafford, but it had just run its course. It's just like it just had run its course. It's tough to really explain it, but it was time for a change. I think that was Seattle and Detroit. And so when that happened, the national media, kind of the attention went away, when really it's exactly what both teams needed. And I think too, you get back to basics when you've got a quarterback that maybe doesn't have the elite arm strength or the history of the, you just kind of get back to running the ball, the right passes, the right plays. And no surprise that both Seattle and Detroit are really doing some good things. And by the way, Seattle versus Detroit, week 2 of the NFL season is going to be a massive game with playoff implications. I think we just realized that, because we know you get to the end of the season, you look at those tiebreaker games, Seattle and Detroit are both going to be teams right there fighting for the division and then fighting for wild cards, whatever it might be, if they're not going to win the division. So that week 2 game, the Seattle comes to Detroit. I think it's going to be a much better game for the Lions than it was in week last year. I mean, I just felt like the Lions, I'm probably Seattle felt the same way. Like, we cannot stop these guys. We cannot stop these guys. I really felt the Lions could not stop the Seahawks at all. I mean, I just feel like we're going to be in a much better place defensively this game. So should give the Lions a better chance to win. But if you look at the Lions schedule, I've been saying this, it's Kansas City than Seattle. I mean, the Lions could start 0-2. This is a really good team in the Seattle Seahawks that nobody's paying attention to them. So I can't wait to see what happens as they continue to develop throughout training camp and into the season. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm hoping to go to the Seattle Seahawks game. That'd be awesome. So let me know your thoughts in the comments on this, and we'll see all of you on the next one.